Hello, 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 hello. You are here. I am Nancy Allert, and this is the Alert Factor in Real Estate. This is where we discuss everything real estate. Whatever you want to know about real estate investing, finding that sexy condo underwater, finding that investment property, buying land, doing the development, learning real estate one investing 101, how to get started, how to wholesale, how to do whatever it is you want to know about real estate. Check us out. This is the Alert Factor. I am Nancy Alert, and we will be discussing today. We will be talking about tax lien sales and tax lien certificates. This is one way where it does not require a lot of money for you to get into real estate investing. It's easy. It's easy. It's easy. And we will be discussing that later today. But I just wanted to give you some other information. On the market center, you can list your properties for sale. Just go to realestatelistings.info and upload your listings worldwide so everyone can take a look at it and help you sell it. If you have any questions regarding real estate, whether it's in the DC metro area or whether it's worldwide, contact me, Nancy Alert. All my information is online. Reach out to me, Nancy Alert. I am the Nancy Alert on Instagram. So today I want to introduce you to our guest, which is Dave Ocansey, and I'm sure I said that wrong, Dave Ocansey, and brand marketing authority, expert. But today we're going to be talking about tax lien sales, tax lien certificates, how you too can get your piece of the pie by purchasing tax lien certificates, which then turns into, if it's not redeemed, turns into you owning a property. So Dave, tell us a little bit about you. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Alert Factor.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you so much for having me here. And it's a pleasure to be here. So, a bit about myself, I'm an entrepreneur. I also do have a full time job. And I'm into real estate, but I also own a digital marketing agency, hence the Brand Marketing Authority. But today we are here to talk about tax lien. And I've been doing tax lien, give and take, for about 5 years, been through the process, got a couple of properties and then sold them, made a decent profit, and wash and repeat. So yeah.
Yeah, rinse and repeat. This is how, right? Isn't that the Burr method? The Burr method, rinse and
Yeah.
repeat. You do it here, you did it well, then you do it again and again and again. And that's how you create wealth. And I know a lot of people, every so often, I notice people become interested in tax lien sales and then they go away. And then I don't know if it's maybe there was an article in a newspaper or on the TV, and then they become interested again and then they disappear. But it's not hard work, but it is a little bit of work you have to do. As with everything, people expect easy and free, right? They don't want to do the work. But if
Mm-hmm.
you do the little work, and that's what you're going to show us and tell us, the little work you do, you too really can have a whole real estate business as a tax lien certificate purchaser. And one of the things I wanted to dive into is letting people know that, okay, so even if you don't want to own the properties, a lot of the tax lien certificates is redeemed by the owner. And what that means is if the owner pays all of the taxes and the interest that is owed on the property before the redemption period, you get your money back plus a hefty interest,
Yep,
right?
that's true.
A higher percentage of interest than you can get anywhere else. Some states is 36% is the
Yep.
interest. Some places 18%. So even if you don't get the property, just think about the interest. Because I have a friend that's what he does. He really does it for the interest, and he buys tax lien certificates around the country, and he's hoping that he doesn't get the property because he's really just
Yeah.
just doing it for the interest. So you have purchased tax liens certificates, and have you done it anywhere other than the DC metro area?
So I would say I mainly invest in the Baltimore tax lien, and
Mhm.
I've also tried that of Florida, but I didn't win any properties over there. So I've done Baltimore, I've done Florida, and then I'll be moving on to some other markets very soon as well. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. For me, I started doing tax lien sales purchases years and years and years ago, and my
Mhm.
focus was in Maricopa County and Chicago. And
Yeah.
that's because they had the highest interest rate. And
Hmm.
I haven't gotten any property, but the interest is what I got.
Yeah.
But now I am interested in focusing on the DC metro area. I had moved away because there were so many people, right? So
Yeah.
many people jumping on it, and so many people that forgot or didn't know what the point is of going to an auction, which is to get a deal.
Yep. That's correct.
And they just outbid and overbid, and just like, this is not what you're supposed to do when you're at an auction, right? You're supposed to
Exactly.
make money, get a deal. But what I would like for you to do is tell us, well, first, the different, because it's different times of the year for everywhere, right? So
Mhm.
not every state does tax lien sales. So I know a few of them that does tax lien sales, and I know for a fact Virginia is not one of them. So you can't buy tax lien certificates in Virginia, but
Mhm.
Virginia does have foreclosure sales at the courthouse, so you can buy a property
I can
foreclosure.
explain a bit about the whole process, very
Hmm.
soon. Yeah. So
Okay, go ahead.
So when it comes to taxes, and the whole tax lien process starts off with when people are not able to pay off their taxes, the taxes on their property over a period of time, then the government can then step in to, take those properties. Now, the whole of the United States, there are two systems. We have the tax lien system and the tax deed system. So each state follow one of these. Now, with the tax deed system, that is a much different process than the tax lien, which is what I have been working on for the past 5 years. So yeah, that is just a difference between the tax lien and then the tax deed system. So the most prominent ones that I know of are Maryland does tax lien. The state of Illinois also does tax lien. Florida, they have kind of a hybrid system where some counties are tax lien and some counties are tax deed. And I think New Jersey also, part of New Jersey also do have tax liens. So over the top of my head, those are the places that I
Yeah,
know
you
do
got
offer.
New York, you got Pennsylvania, Montana, Wyoming, Oklahoma, Missouri, Iowa.
Mm,
Arizona is one of the ones that, you
yeah,
have that 36%.
yeah,
Georgia, Louisiana, South Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, and some other places.
awesome.
You can look it up, that does tax lien sales. And then the other states that doesn't do this tax lien, that's where you have the foreclosures and the deed, tax deed sales, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
So if you were going to get started,
Hmm.
if you were to get started in the real estate in tax lien, I would like for you to tell us how we're going to get started. But first, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
Awesome. Sure.
Time. It has a different meaning in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It goes backwards, forwards, it stops. St. Croix is rooted in history. So much of it still remains untouched.
I remember running on these streets as a kid. This shop was right down there. It opened the same year I was born. This is where the original Crucian Hook was born. It's the symbol of these islands. and I wanted to have my hands in that very same history. I want to be able to pass it down to my family while still putting a new spin on it.
The U.S. Virgin Islands, we have an amazing culture that developed over time from all over the world.
St. John feels so untouched. Being underwater is like another world. There's no worries, there's no stress. I can just escape. This is my happy place. My passion for scuba diving came at just being fascinated with the water and wanting to be a mermaid. And this is the closest thing I can get to achieving mermaid status. Canadians just love being outdoorsy. We live for adventure, so we love anything hiking, being on the water, diving, snorkeling, and St. John has it all.
It's like some spirit is protecting the island and keeping them raw. The Makujumbi watches over the island. From up there, they keep the evil spirits away. The nightlife in St. Thomas is absolutely amazing. There's always something going on. Everyone comes together to dance and catch a vibe. We're always celebrating. We celebrate freedom, culture, the food, the smell, the music. It's always a celebration. The people here are probably the most priceless thing because they keep the culture going. There's so many different influences on these islands. Food from all kind of countries coming together in new dishes.
We're back. We're back. You're watching and listening to the Alert Factor, where we discuss everything real estate, whatever you want to know about real estate, we have it here. Today, we're with Dave O'Kenzie, and we're talking about tax lien sales, how you can get started, what is the first thing you should do. So, Dave, if you were going to tell someone how to get started, if they're in the DC metro area, and what time of year is the tax lien sale in DC and Maryland, and what is it that you need to do to get started?
All right. So usually for people that I help, people that I teach, I always tell you before you get started in tax lien, you need to know or have a strategy. What is your strategy? Are you going into tax lien to get properties and own it and rent it, or you are just going in for the cash flow? And secondly, also, you need to know that this is not a quick 30 days process. It takes about a year for you to go through a complete tax lien cycle. Sometimes it could be less, but to set expectations straight, it is a vehicle that you need to have patience for, because there is a process. And also, you also have to determine how much you want to put across. Now, for anybody who wants to start and get into tax lien, the first thing I'll advise you is start with an LLC. Register an LLC and then have a business account, a business banking account with that LLC. That should be the very first thing you do, because I will never advise anybody to own a tax lien property in their own personal name for asset protection purposes. So after you've at least registered an LLC, I mean, it doesn't really matter. You can choose any name, and then, just let it be in the process of, so you register your LLC, you have your EIN number, you register with the IRS.gov, have your EIN number. Then with that, then that kind of marks kind of the first stage. And then also you fund your account. You know how much you want to buy tax lien from. I mean, maybe you want to invest 5,000, 10,000, whatever the amount is, you put those in there. Now, in terms of the DMV area, tax lien usually the whole process starts around I would say March, but it can vary from year to year. I know some counties in Maryland would output the list by the first week of March or by the last week of March. Now, when this list comes out, this is the list of all the people whose properties are about to go through the tax lien process, and they also give them a grace period. So the list that comes out in March, and to cite specifically the Baltimore tax lien, where I have been investing in the past 5 years, the list comes out in March and auction is usually in May. Now there's a 2 month period for people who are tax delinquent to come over, pay off whatever taxes they owe so that their name is removed from the list. So there's also that due process. Now, one thing I will advise is after you've decided whether you want to own the property or you are interested in the cash flow, when the list comes out, that is where the work begins. And you have to pull down the list. That is what the research goes through. You go through the list. Usually, the list is sometimes, in a couple of years back, the first list that comes out is about 30,000 properties. So 30,000 properties will hit the market. By the time we get into May, we have about 20 or 19. But last year, this year the list was quite low. So in terms
And
of
is that because it was quite low this year because of COVID and they weren't really aggressively going after people that are delinquent in taxes?
yes, that COVID, a whole lot of factors are in play this year. This year, I think we had only about, six thousand. No, sorry, 19,000 properties to go through. So it wasn't as high for this year. So the
And that was
usual,
for Maryland.
yeah, that was for Baltimore. Yes, that's the
Baltimore.
Baltimore City to be precise. Baltimore City, not Baltimore County. Baltimore City. Yeah.
Okay, so to be really specific, so 19,000, that was Baltimore City, but you can also have a list for Baltimore County, for Prince George's County, for Howard County, Anne Arundel County, and then those lists comes out at different times, or does it come out at
Exactly.
the same?
So I will advise, you have to check whichever county you want to invest in. So if you live in the state of Maryland, go to the county website, look at the tax and as tax assessors website, and then they will usually state the dates and the part of the website that will have all of that information. If you can't find it on their website, just look at the phone numbers and then call
Reach out.
them and reach out, find out when exactly the tax lien is going to happen. And the dates come and then the deadlines are the deadlines. If you're supposed to register for a tax lien by a particular date and you miss it, you've missed it. You won't get the opportunity again until the following year. So one thing you have to be very careful about is to know the date. If there's a time you need to register before the deadline, and then pretty much that's it. So for a beginner, these are a few steps that at least you need to make sure you go through. You get ready for it.
Okay, so first, if you want to participate in the Maryland taxing sale, you might want to go to the Maryland County Government website, to the tax assessors page, take a look. If there's no information on when the tax lien properties sale, the properties come out, then just reach out by phone or get on the list, because I'm sure there's a list where you can be a part of them sending you the email reminding you when to register for the sales and when it's going to be, and how much money you need, because you do need to have the money up front, and you do need to send the money, right? Do you need to send the money to the state or have it in an account where the state have access to it? What?
No. So let me give you an example of the Baltimore City tax lien process. They usually will release their list by March, and they don't put it on their own website. They work with Real Auctions, So the Real Auctions website has partnered with the city of Baltimore, and they are the one that will put out the list of people. So you go to the Real Auction website, and then you go to the Baltimore City section of the Real Auction website, and over there you can get the list of all the properties that have been advertised. But I mean, it's not public. I mean, it's not just a list that will be out there. You first of all have to create an account. So you go in and then you create a free account. There's no charge for creating an account. After you've created an account, then you can see the date of the auction. You can get access to the list, the current list, the previous list, and all of that information will be there. So the city of Baltimore works with realauctions.com, and they are the one in charge of handling the whole auction process when it comes to tax lien for the city of Baltimore.
So is there a possibility of you still being able to purchase a tax lien property after the tax lien sale? Like, let's say, do they always sell everything at the tax lien sale?
So no, they don't sell everything. So the tax lien sale is in, like, let me say, 3 major process. The first is the main auction. The main auction is the most competitive and bids go crazy. And I mean, this is where the big hedge funds, the big pockets come. So they bid through, and at the end of the day, after the first auction is done, whatever is left is sent to a second round of auction, which is called the assignment sale. Now, the assignment sale also, so the first auction has a process of how you bid. The second auction, which is the assignment process, also has a different way you go about bidding for properties. Okay. Now, after that,
so let's put a hold right there for 1 second. So when we come back, we're going to take a short break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the hedge fund companies, the big pockets. We're going to talk about the difference between the first round and the assignment sale. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Next year I went back, I ended up winning and became like, got the Marvin Sims Award, which is like the best diverse actor. And they called my name, and as I walked to the stage, white kids was throwing books at me. Real talk, right off the top of the balcony, like, because this black boy won.
And then finally, one day I was just cooking in the kitchen, she was like, "Mommy, so-and-so touched me on my private parts like this," you know? And it was that moment where, like, I had that moment where I told my mom, and my mom was the one that shut me down, and I had a choice, you know, to make.
I shot back. But you can't claim self-defense when you got an illegal firearm and you're 16 years old.
I remember my brother right here, he was selling, he was doing this, but he got a break. He could have took that money and flipped it. He could have went back, Wagon Wire money, 17th episode. I could flip that.
Even on the out there, I did not flip. He didn't flip the wire, but I went straight. My bad, I'm moving on.
I was a single friend 6.5 years, and I was going through my situationships, Y'all know the situationships, men. Then I found, just like for myself, again, like, oh girl, you still recovering from your childhood. Like, what you about to do with a man right now?
I had an agent, sometimes some years after that, tell me that if you don't do nudity, you're not a real actress.
So did they get fired? So
you should have gotten fired that way.
Everybody's laughing. They're like, oh my God. They go, okay, great. Are you SAG? I was like, nah, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm black.
Everybody did that.
Like,
we can pick up the sides right now and start going. I know this group that I'm with is about that. We're about that. Like, I'm about the work. You know what I mean? Like,
chasing Hollywood industry.
so I saw Chasing Hollywood. I was like, yo, we don't have to change that name and do something because niggas don't own chase.
I feel like we're just, but we're living. That's the term that Hollywood uses.
It's not about just today and me and blah, blah, blah. What we are doing is being documented. Our grandkids, our great-great-grandkids can see how we all walk, talk, sound, look in our prime. And, something about that is very beautiful. And I think that is another element that kind of attracted me to it, is that it never dies. You never die through this art form.
We're back. You're watching and listening to the Alert Factor, where we discuss everything real estate. And today my guest is Dave Okensi. Dave, could you please give me the correct pronunciation of your last name?
It is Okensi. You're on point.
Okensi. Yeah. We're with Dave Okensi, and we're talking about tax lien sales. So if you ever wanted to get involved, start purchasing tax lien certificates, whether it's in the DC metro area or any of the other states that do sell tax lien certificates, you want to listen to this, and then you want to contact Dave. So because he's developed a software because it's about numbers now. Before, when I used to do tax lien certificate purchases in 1997, 98, I didn't need a formula because you didn't have the hedge fund companies and the big pockets coming out bidding you. It's $5,000. You might have paid $8,000 or $10,000, and that's it. Now there's a $5,000 tax lien, and somebody might end up bidding $200,000, right? Yep. And Dave, you're going to tell us the secret sauce, or maybe a little bit, because we want them to contact you. Not so much of the secret, but maybe the sauce, that there is a formula so that even though that person just bid $200,000 on a $5,000 tax lien certificate, they are not paying the state or the county or the government. They are not paying $200,000 for that tax lien certificate. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So tell us about it. Tell us why we can still compete.
So here's the thing with tax lien, it's all about knowing the process and the rules of engagement. So like I was saying before I went on our commercial break, it's in two levels. The first level, that is a main auction, and with that, so there will be so many properties. Now, mind you, before the time the list is released in March to the time of the auction in May, or sometimes it can be pushed to June, you have about 2 months to do your research. And that is your make or break moment, because that is the time you pull down the list, you look at, the zip codes that you want to invest in, because the properties are going to be all over the city. Do your research. Some neighborhoods are good, some are not so great. It all boils down to you. So you have to do an extensive research, which you have to go through, pick a property, check the asset, the value of the asset, because usually in the tax lien, you get a list of the address of the property, the amount of the tax lien, and sometimes the assessed value of the property. Now, the assessed value that you get, that is the assessed value of the city. And we all know when it comes to assessed value, Zillow will have its own, Realtor.gov, Realtor.com will have its own, so many. So there is a whole process. I think maybe that is the overwhelming part of out of 19,000 properties, how do I get to pick a good one that turns out to be a winning bid and a property that can, win for you? So the very first step, the formula is not really of a formula, but what happens, let me just throw out some numbers. Assuming there is a property that is worth, let's say, 100,000. That is the assessed value according to the city, the list that the city gives. And the tax lien on that property is, let's say, 10,000. Okay, so we have a $10,000 tax lien on a $100,000 property. And if you wanted to bid, so first of all, let's go back to the registration process. When you register, all you have to do at that point is to make sure that whatever amount of money you have is sitting in the bank account. The city won't touch, that money will not be taken unless you win something. So yours is to fund your account and wait. If you win a property during the auction, before your account will be debited. So it's not like you are transferring money somewhere and then, and then don't let anybody fool you saying, transfer your money to me or transfer your money. No, the money will sit in your bank account and you register with Real Auction. If you win a bid, then the money is transferred. So after you've done all that, you are set up, you've gone through the list, you know the properties you want to bid on. Usually for the first stage, everything is done online. You log into your account, you find a property you are bidding for, and then you bid on it. Now, the process is such that if a property of 100,000 has a tax lien of 10,000, you can bid up to 40,000 and then not pay any penalty. So let me explain this for 1 second. So if a property's tax lien is 10,000 and you bid 10,000, another person bids 11,000, another person bids 12,000, the person who bids 12,000 win, but you are going to pay only 10,000. That is the first example. Now, assuming
and
for the
why are you only paying 10,000? Because what is that percentage of the assessed value?
Because the only time you are required to pay a premium, the only time you pay a premium is if your bid is 40% above the assessed value. So in this same scenario where your assessed value is 100,000, if you bid anything between 10,000 and 40,000 and nobody bids above you, you can win that property, but you will only pay the lien amount, which is 10,000. If you were to bid, let's say 60,000, which is over the 40%, which will be 4,000, you will pay the 10,000 plus a premium. And the premium is calculated in such a way that they take 10%, they take 20% of the amount you are over the premium. So for example,
so you paid $10,000 plus 20% of the $50,000 that you went above?
Yes, so you pay 10,000 plus 20% of the 20% of the 20,000. So you bid at 60 minus 40 is 20,000, and 20% of 20,000 is 4,000. So you end up paying 10,000 plus
14.
Yeah, plus 4,000, which is 14.
So you see, you said there's not a formula, but there's really a formula, because if you don't know, and this is what a lot of new investors into tax lien sales do not know, because when they go and they see the hedge funds and the big pockets bidding, right, and they're bidding 200,000, they don't know. See, I always knew they didn't pay the $200,000. I knew that, but what I didn't know is what they would pay. What was that percentage above the assessed value and below? I did not know that, but I did know They didn't pay the 200, but because I didn't know what the percentage was that they would have to pay, I still didn't want to bid because I didn't know where I would fall into how much money I would have to pay. So again, it goes back to saying, don't say that saying, don't hate the player, hate the game. It's don't hate the player, but learn the rules of the game so you too can play, right?
Yes, exactly.
Learn the rules of the game so you too can play. So yeah, go ahead.
So yes, I know this kind of is seem a bit all over the place, but I'm coming out with a software that, you know, can help simplify the process where everybody can join in the process. And, you know, as soon as the software is ready, I'll release it out. I know the calculations can be a bit all over the place for people who are not too savvy. So for a hedge fund who, and this happens more often than you know, some hedge funds would be bidding 200,000, 300,000, simply because, well, they have the money to spend, and to them, they are not really looking at owning the property. They just want the interest rate.
Yeah,
so
like I did.
People, yeah. So some people just want the interest rates, so they just come in and then bid crazy. And the reason why they bid that much is they hope the owners will pay up,
redeem
and
it,
then the interest rate and all that. But in the worst case scenario, when people don't pay up, you end up having to, you know, own the property, which most people might not want, and then it becomes a whole lot of issues. So yeah.
So let me ask you this quick question, since you just mentioned that. So if the hedge fund bid $250,000, do they get the interest on the $250,000 or on the $10,000 that's the delinquent taxes?
Yes, the interest rate is calculated on the lien amount.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
The interest rate is calculated on the lien amount. So if you bid 10,000 and it ends up redeeming, you end up making in the city of Baltimore, it is 18% per annum. So if you bid at 10,000 and then you won that property and people decide to redeem it the next year, you will
get 18.
Have to receive 10,000 plus 18%, which ends up becoming, you know,
it's good money if you can get it. So we will be right back to talk more about tax lien sales and how you can reach Dave so he can show you the formula. We'll be right back.
Sure.
I used to watch BET, MTV, VH1, now I watch Tempo. Soca, Calypso, Reggae Dancehall. Don't stall, better get tuned in to the Tempo. Don't have cable, they got an app. Go to your app store, download that. Whether it's tourism, cuisine, or the social scenes, if it ain't Tempo, it's a rap. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. It's the latest in Caribbean news. Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too. Tempo. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. It's the latest in Caribbean news. Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too. Tempo.
You know you are a hot one. We are lime, we are laugh, we are chat, we no chill, we are hot one. Temperature rise, beer vibes in this a hot one. Link up, connect, does a sweat when you're the fan, the hot one. We gonna spice it up like fire.
I'm Charles Meriday, and I'm in the restaurant business. In my 20 years as a chef and restaurant owner, I've been able to work and eat in some of the great kitchens around the globe. There's a whole side of the restaurant that most people will never get to see. So now, I want to take you to the back of the house, into kitchens of some of the best chefs in the world. Along the way, I'll share some of my own tips and recipes so you can cook like a pro too. So join me in the back of the house for a whole new perspective on cooking and food. Order in. Roger. Serve it, please.
Buona Pasqua.
Why don't you pay me, please?
So nice, so nice. So nice, so nice. Virgin Islands nice. So
We're back. You are watching and listening to the Alert Factor, where we discuss everything real estate. And if you want to list your real estate properties for sale around the world, go to realestatelistings.info, and it will be on our TV network so that the world can have access to it. We are here today. We're with our guest, Dave, and we're talking about tax lien sales. So Dave was just telling us about the software that he's going to be creating so he can help you navigate through the process of purchasing tax lien certificates and eventually probably purchasing the tax lien properties. Because as you know, when you go to a tax lien sale, you are purchasing a certificate, right? A certificate to own that property. But the owners have, in different states, they have different amount of redemption time. Some may not have a redemption period, but the state of Maryland does have a redemption period, and so does Washington, D.C. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, it's 6 months. So if the owners do not redeem the property, meaning pay the interest, pay the taxes owed within that redemption period, then the person, the owner of the tax lien certificate, can now foreclose on the property and it becomes theirs. Correct?
That's correct. So for the city of Baltimore, when you buy a tax lien, I think the homeowners have up to 1 year to still redeem.
Wow.
So yes, so within 1 year they can technically redeem, and then if they want to redeem it and then pay the 18% interest and all of that, yes, they can do that. But usually I like to buy tax lien for the cash flow and also for investment properties. I'm not really focused on, the 18%. I want to own the property.
Right, I hear you.
Yeah, because I want to take that property, flip it, to do all
Flip
kinds
it and make more and do it again.
Exactly. So,
and then you would say, especially if you're looking to do that, you're looking to acquire the property, you're looking to either, depending on the condition of the property, do a little bit of repair, flip it, make some money, or you might want to hold it because it might be in a great area. You can furnish it, and you can do short-term rentals or what have you, right?
Yeah.
But would you say you prefer, or it's beneficial to go for the properties that are vacant, so then you don't have that whole situation of having to evict the person in the property to acquire the property that you now own?
So to that regard, yes, I just like vacant properties. I don't do anything else but vacant property because I like to go in, bid on a property. I know it is vacant, and then this is the difference. If a property is vacant, you can literally foreclose on that property within 6 months. Because it is vacant, there's nobody to evict. If that property is occupied by someone, you will have to wait until 9 months before you start a foreclosure process. So for me, the 6 months gap of buying a vacant property, and the thing is, it makes it very fast. Once you buy a vacant or you win a vacant property, 6 months after you get your tax lien certificate, you can start a foreclosure process. And when you start a foreclosure process and that house is now officially yours, and at that point, you can do so many things. You can either fix it up, or in my case, I don't even fix it up. I just sell it back up. I mean, I have my list of investors that I just say, hey, I have this property on my books, and then they bid on it, and whoever bids the highest just wins. So I have that cycle where I buy, and then I just turn around and then sell it all within a span of a year.
Nice. So if you're looking to get involved in real estate investing, this is a great way to start because it requires really, really, really low startup, right? And if you know nothing about tax lien sales, contact Joe. So Joe and I are going to be working on a tax lien program, and it's going to be on my academy where you'll be able to come. But for now, before it's there and you're ready to go jump in a tax lien, don't tell the people how they can get in contact with you so you can give them all this good information about purchasing tax lien sales.
All right.
Certificates.
So if you are interested in the tax lien process, my email is send an email to Real Estate Census. So Real Estate Census. Census is CENSUS. Real Estate Census. Census like, Census Bureau. Real Estate Census at gmail.com. And then just title it tax lien. So send me an email with title tax lien. And then, I will be able to connect from them, and I can walk you through, have some one-on-one personal time, and we can take it from there.
All right. So all the information you'd like to have, contact Dave, and he will give you that information. You guys can work together and figure out how you two can win some. Because maybe you've been trying to get into the tax lien sale, but you keep getting outbidded by, the big funds, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
If that's the case, then you definitely need to know that little formula. Well, what is the percentage of the assessed value and what is it? So you know that if you did bid $200,000, that you don't have to pay $200,000, that there's a percentage of that you do have to pay. I think that for an investor wanting to get into real estate investing, this is a great place to start. Yeah. This is a fantastic, because it really does require low startup, because you can decide how much money you have to put towards purchasing a tax lien certificate. And you may say, I have $50,000 or I have $10,000, and you still can probably get a property, because there's some tax lien sales that are like $5,000, $4,000, $3,000.
I think you're even going too much. Back in 2018, I was able to help a friend of mine win a property that was assessed at $150,000. The tax lien on that property was $500. So he literally got a property, and he didn't redeem. He literally got a townhouse in Baltimore assessed at $150,000 for the price of $500. And me personally, this year I was able to find a nice plot of land down in the middle of the city of Baltimore. It's about 1 acre. It's about 1 acre lot. I got up for $800. So you don't have to think in the thousands. You can literally get a tax lien property under $1,000, and then it is possible.
This is the guy that you need to contact if you want to get started in the tax lien situation in Maryland or DC. And Dave and I are going to be working on Maryland, DC, and the rest of the tax lien states in the United States is going to be in our academy online. So you'll be able to come and get that, and you too could get involved, because if you have the information, this is what I say all the time. Information is it. Information is king. So if you have the information, if you know the rules of the game, you are able to play the game. If you don't know the rules, you can't play the game, let alone win at the game, right?
Yeah, you have to play by the rules. Yeah.
You can't do it. So I think this is a great place to start. So contact Doe and get all of that information. You are watching at the Alert Factor. We discuss everything real estate, whatever you want to learn about real estate, whether you want to invest in real estate, you want to buy real estate, you want to see beautiful homes. We're going to have some for you to see, some showcasing of some beautiful homes. You want to see gorgeous pools, want to find out how you can actually leverage your property or your pool. Actually, real quick, I was just telling someone the other day how you could leverage your pool. If you have a beautiful pool, do you know you can rent out your pool? Do you know I have a client that rents out her pool for $20,000? Did you know that? You can rent out your pool for so you can leverage real estate in so many different ways. You just have to get involved. And you contact us to find out how you can get involved, how you too could win in the real estate game. So if you want to buy a house, you want to sell a house, contact me. I'm Nancy Alert. I am licensed in Maryland, Virginia, and DC. I get it done every day. What I do most is show you how to do everything real estate creatively, creative financing, creative deal structuring. And most importantly, I focus on showing you how to create wealth with multi-units, right? And now we add tax lien because it's easy and it's simple. You can get to it. So I thank you, Doe, for being on the show today and providing us with such great information about tax lien. So remember, people, real estate census at gmail.com, and you put in the subject tax lien, and you'll get all of that information from him. Every week on Wednesdays from 1:30 to 2:30, we are here at the Alert Factor talking about real estate and how you too can create generational wealth by acquiring multi-units or different types of real estate. Thank you for visiting with us today, and we will see you next time. I'm Nancy Alert, getting it done.